After that quite long-winded introduction, I don't blame you if you skipped it, I would have. Hello and welcome to a look at Final Fight for the Commodore 64, an arcade original by Capcom that was released by US Gold. If you did watch the introduction or you are familiar with the plot, you will know that the mayor's daughter Jessica has been kidnapped by a gang in order to ensure his cooperation. Of course, the mayor, being a former street fighter, is not one for taking that sitting down, even though that's what he basically did. He was sitting down when he got the information. The details. So, of course, he wants to go out and try to rescue her. And Cody, who is Jessica's boyfriend, has a personal interest in rescuing her as well. So, of course, he's also all for it. And Guy, being the guy, he's a friend of everyone, so he wants to help out trying to rescue her. So on they go, piling through several different levels with the occasional boss, and if they reach the final fight and beat the final fight, they will rescue Jessica and everything will be fine and dandy. For reference, I am giving all three characters 3 minutes uh, time of glory, or whatever you'd call it, in order to showcase all three. We start off with Guy, who's apparently a ninjutsu master thing. And he got some funky backhand punches, and then he got some jump kicks, and then he got some spinning kicks, and then he got some bizarre other moves which may or may not trigger depending on how close you may or may not be to an enemy. He is by far the weakest of the three, but he's also supposedly the fastest, even though there's no difference between the three characters in speed. Compared to the Amiga version, which I covered some time ago, I actually completed the Amiga version and slammed it quite hard because it deserved a good slamming. This version actually has more attacks than the Amiga version has, even though they are bizarrely bizarre to try and activate, because they are depending on whether you get a grip of your enemy and how they are facing, which color shoes they're wearing, that kind of stuff. So the extra fighting moves are a nice addition, but they don't work reliably. And sometimes when you grab hold of an enemy, you can't tell what's the face and what's the backside. Meaning that, of course, because in order to throw an enemy, you have to move your control opposite of what you're facing. It can be quite wonky and quite useless, all in all honesty, even. Sorry. But fighting we do, and a lot of fighting we have to do in order to finally rescue Jessica. This game can be played with 1 or 2 players, and of course if you're playing with 2 players, you're playing 2 players simultaneously, which I do not have the doubtful enjoyment of trying because I'm playing by myself. But I would assume that it is more enjoyable to play as 2. These kind of games usually are. But of course, if you are looking at the game itself, there's probably not much to enjoy whether you're playing 1 or 10. Cody, by the way, he is quite stronger than a Guy, but they share a lot of common moves. The jump kicks, the spinning kicks things, and the main difference between them is that their punches are different. Guy uses this back fist kind of thing, which is, for those who may not be aware, a back fist is actually a weak hit. It's quite fast, but it is meant to cause bleeding, taking an eyebrow, smack in the nose, that kind of stuff. It's actually not meant as a strong hit. So no wonder a Guy is a bit on the weak side. Cody is a bit more direct in your face, punch them, jab them, slap them, kind of stuff. But other special moves, as I was saying, are shared. They seem to be shared. I don't know whether it was intentional or there was an attempt made to make them different, but they are not. You know what? Let's get all the technical stuff, as I like to call it, out of the way. Graphically, this game is quite impressive, I have to admit. It is impressive in such a way that I cannot remember having seen a game more impressive looking than this. No, sarcasm is not something I enjoy employing at all. No, 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 no. The backgrounds are decidedly dull, but I suppose the backgrounds are not super relevant ultimately. It is the enemies and the main characters that should be relevant in a fighting game. And they look like big blobs of clay with some color splattered onto them. The different enemies have slightly different colors in order to help you differentiate them, but outside of that, the graphical side of things, especially when it comes to players and enemies, just looks like a garbled mess. The sound and music made by Uncle Art, or done by Uncle Art, also known as Dave Lowe, I love that surname, is bland. There's no particular standout sound that evokes any sort of excitement. And the music it is what it is, but it's not much. So the sound department definitely doesn't impress me particularly either. By the way, switching to Hagar, as he's called, and for some bizarre reason, I don't know whether it's just me, but to me it looks like he is shaped like an inverted pear, and he's got funky walks. He's also different from the others in his fighting moves. His special moves is Superman flying chest first into enemies, which is about as useful as calling them names. I think that might be more useful. And of course, he's got his fabled pile driver, which in this version is infinitely weaker than it is in every other version of the game, the arcade original included. Anyway, back to technical stuff. Controls are, what can I say? You move forward towards enemies and press fire in order to do a jump kick, which makes perfect sense. Press fire by itself, and you will do your stab, smash, grab thing, whatever. And down and fire will activate your special attack thing. At times, the timing for moving the controller in whatever direction you need to move it in and pressing fire is quite tight, and half the time it doesn't feel like it's responding. The gameplay is fight an awful lot of enemies and continue doing so until you get fed up playing the game or beat the game. I bet on you get fed up playing the game long before you ever get anywhere near beating it, because the fighting is not particularly interesting. It's not particularly exciting. It's not particularly funny. The only thing funny about this game is the hit detection. As you may or may not have noticed, sometimes when you jump kick an enemy in front of you, if there's an enemy behind you, you will also jump kick them for some wonky reason. When you jump kick, you seem to have a hitbox the size of a small bus. When you hit enemies, there's no hit stun, which means that while you're busy punching them in the face, they punch you back in the face, and that means, of course, that your energy is getting drained rapidly, meaning that the only potential option you have to succeed in fighting is to do special moves or jump kicks all the time, meaning that the gameplay loop becomes extremely tedious extremely quickly. Yeah, another wasted effort. That note, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.